Barbecue fish is delicious, but it comes with a few challenges. It can fall apart, stick to the grill, and the margin for it being under or overcooked is about 9 degrees. But these are easy to avoid if we follow a few steps. So today we're testing 6 ways of grilling fish on the barbecue, including using a plank, a fish cage, grilling fish directly on herbs and vegetables to see what's the best way to grill fish on the barbecue without it falling apart or sticking to the grates. So it's very important when grilling fish that the grill is hot and the grates are clean. So while we wait for the grill to heat up, let's first talk about which fish are best to barbecue and how to source them. So when choosing which fish to put on the barbecue, there are 2 important things to consider. Firstly, you want a fish that's firm and robust and isn't going to flake and fall apart easily. So fish like sea bass, snapper, trout, mackerel tend to be good options, whereas I tend to avoid fish like cod, hake and haddock. They're just more likely to flake and fall apart. They tend to be less sustainably caught. So an easy rule of thumb is to steer clear of fish that you would get from a fish and chip shop. The second thing is making sure the fish you buy is really fresh. This is going to have more impact on the flavour than anything we can do to the fish during cooking, so it's really important to get right. And the easiest way of doing this is by finding yourself a good fishmonger. A good fishmonger will almost tell you what to buy because what's fresh, what's good this week is going to differ to what was good a week ago. So for folks in the UK, I'll pop a few links in the description below to some suppliers that I recommend. No affiliation, they're just good at what they do. But if you're outside the UK or you're buying fish at the counter, there are 3 tests we can use to work out if a fish is fresh or not. We can use sight, smell, and touch. So for sight, you want to look at the eyes. They should be nice and bright and not hazed over. For smell, it shouldn't smell fishy. It should smell of seawater, like it's just hopped out of the ocean. And lastly, for touch, granted most fishmongers aren't going to be too happy with you stroking their fish. If you do, your hands should feel clean afterwards. There shouldn't be any kind of residue or slime coming off. So for our experiment, we've got these 7 beautiful Cornish mackerel. We're going to cook all but one of these whole. I'll explain what we'll do with this one a bit later. But we're going to cook these in 6 different ways to see which one gives us the best result. We've got a fish cage, a cedar plank, a bed of herbs and lemons, aluminium foil, a bed of leek, and this one we're going to coat heavily in olive oil. Our first step though is to dry out the skin. So just like with chicken or pork belly, moisture is the enemy of crispy skin. So I'm going to do 2 things. First, I'm going to pat these dry with a bit of paper towel, and then I'm going to put them in the bottom of the fridge on this wire rack tray for about an hour or so, just to help the skin dry out. I'm now going to score the fish every inch or so. This prevents them from curling up as the skin tightens during the cook. And lastly, I'm going to give them a generous sprinkle of flaked salt. This not only bumps up the flavour, but will help form a little crust barrier between the fish and the grill grates. So our grill's up to temperature. We're cooking hot today, around 400 degrees. I've also warmed up our fish cage to prevent the fish sticking to it, so we're ready for the fish to go on. So we'll do this fish, lemon fish. We've got our fish in the fish cage. And then this is our fish coated in olive oil. Down she goes. So our fish has just gone on, and this is arguably the hardest bit about cooking fish because we have to do absolutely nothing now for 5 minutes or so to let that skin crisp up. So I highly recommend at this point, find yourself a job to do so you can leave the fish alone. The key to grilling fish is to get the skin crispy, and those of you subscribed to the channel might remember that I recently tested 11 different ways to crisp up the skin on chicken. So I was wondering whether there was anything we can learn from that experiment that we can apply here. The secret to crispy chicken skin is to dry out the skin, which is relevant here, and also render the fat underneath the skin, which isn't so relevant when talking about fish. So of the various methods that I tested in that episode, I'm going to try out 2 that were surprisingly effective at drying out the skin. Firstly, using cornstarch, and secondly, blowing it with a hairdryer. And just to mix things up, I'm going to fillet these and cook them over a fire pit. So our fish has had 5 to 6 minutes. If I gently lift one of these up, I can see it's cooking nicely. So I'm going to give it a flip. When cooking fish, you really want to aim to flip once. It's the only time that fish can fall apart is when it's being moved. So the less we do that, the better. Fish is done at 140 degrees Fahrenheit. There's only about 9 degrees wiggle room either side where the fish is undercooked or overcooked. All right, first one's come off. This one's maybe a bit of a goner. I will salvage what I can. Remove that slightly hot spot. Okay, so our fish are all done, and I think fair to say we've got some pretty varied results. So the worst one by far, I think, was the fish cooked on olive oil. This one, the oil obviously didn't get hot enough, didn't crisp the skin, and so it stuck to the grates and came off absolutely decimated. So unfortunately, the oil didn't seem to work very well. In next place, I thought this would have done better, actually. This is the fish that was cooked directly on the bed of leeks. It kind of stuck to the leeks and then pulled off a fair bit. Not a particularly good result. Next, we've got the fish cooked on the plank. Again, we didn't really get any char on this. It wasn't very hot, and the plank kind of creates a barrier between the heat source and the fish. So it's It's kind of cooked very indirect here. We haven't really got any char or any kind of crisp on the skin. So again, not particularly impressed with that. I personally don't really like cooking fish on planks. I think you kind of get this result unless you're cooking over direct heat, like on a fire pit. But even then, I think directly cooking over charcoals is much better. The next few, we did get a little bit of char. So next we've got the fish that was cooked on the bed of herbs and lemons. This one came out a little bit better. We did get a little bit of char on it, and it didn't stick to the grill, so not bad. I would have liked to see a bit more char, but at least by having gaps between the herbs, you do get a bit of direct heat in there. So not bad, but I'm kind of still giving that like a 3-4 out of 10. I don't think I would sort of rush to do that. So let's have a look and see how this did. So this was wrapped in the aluminium foil. So I can see it has sort of stuck a bit to the aluminium foil. And the other thing I'm seeing here, I don't know if you can see this, is that the skin's kind of cooked quite rubbery. It's like how you get like rubbery chicken skin. It's obviously steamed, and the kind of moisture has made that go a little bit rubbery. I think the meat in this will be quite nice and juicy and tender, but not what we're looking for. Barbecue fish, we want crispy skin, we want a bit of char, and we've definitely not got that. So the only one that I would say has come out really nicely is the fish that was cooked in the fish cage. This has got char, we've got a nice crispy skin, and this is kind of what I hope for when I think of barbecue fish. For me, the winner is definitely the fish cage, but let's have a look and see how our fillets are going. So the fish that we coated in cornstarch didn't come off quite as I was hoping it might. The cornstarch is still quite sort of powdery on it. Has got a bit of crisp, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. Whereas the fish that we blew with the hairdryer has got a really nice crisp on it. You can sort of hear really nice crisp to it. And we've actually got a nice bit of smoky taste. How much of that is from cooking it directly on the fire pit compared to cooking it on gas? Not too sure, but that's really nice. So if you're barbecuing fish, I can highly recommend picking up one of these. This was by far the best of the methods we tested today. And if you have any of your own tips or suggestions when barbecuing fish, please do drop them in the comments below, because it not only helps me, but helps everyone else watching this video learn and improve their barbecue. Now, if you'd like to watch the video that I mentioned earlier, where we tested 11 different ways of crisping up barbecue chicken skin, you can watch that video here. Otherwise, remember to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next experiment.